Locked and loaded. Summertime is in its full glory. Finally, we've had a really cool summer. It's a muggy day today. We had a really hot, muggy week. It's July 23rd. We're going to chase crappies. I had hoped to be out fishing a couple hours ago, but it was really raining this morning. And looking at the radar, I didn't think I needed to go out and get wet to fish. So I waited for it to stop, and here we go. We're heading up to a local lake. It's as ordinary a fisherman outing as you're gonna get. A lake that's nearby your house. You're chasing panfish, you're looking to get a meal out of it, and I'm also gonna highlight one of my favorite lures. There's only one company I've really found that's made this little paddle tail, and we're gonna highlight that today because that's what I'm gonna pretty much exclusively use. We're gonna have a lot of fun doing it. So, short intro, let's head up to a cotton area lake in northern Minnesota and hopefully pack this boat full of crappies. It's not a big one, but we might be onto something already. Just started. I'm gonna take a minute at some point in this video to talk about what I'm using. It's the Charlie Brewer's Sliders paddle tails, and they're the only company that I've found that makes them this small. This is like almost 1 inch, kind of in that range, and they are perfect for panfish. Perfect for panfish. So I'm out to get my limit today so we can have a family meal. And it's not super often I just target crappies, but I am today. And we'll talk about what I'm doing, where I'm at, why I'm here, and all that stuff. Hopefully this is gonna pan out to get my limit. Good start. There's another crappie. Nicer one. Dare I flip it in? Oh, I dare. That one might be pushing 10. All right, that's number 2. We're almost on a pattern. Almost, and it's wonderful that I'm doing it sooner than later and not spending all day finding them. Some past knowledge and putting some of the current conditions together is so far panning out for some crappies. Oh, yeah. Where there's one, there might be more. Cast back over there. All right, I think we're finally on a pattern. Not finally, I'm only 20 minutes into fishing. So what I put together so far is a combination of reeds and submerged weeds, and there's a certain kind of weed, I wish I knew the names of all the weeds, that these guys seem to be hanging around in. So I'm looking for those patches. The reeds may or may not be a part of the equation yet, but definitely these certain kind of submerged weeds. And they're in there. Not in super numbers yet, but 20 minutes, I've got 3 of them in the boat. Again, not the monsters, but 9 inchers. I think we're on to something. Finally on to something. Love it when a plan works out. Yeah, we're only like 5-6 feet of water. Water temps are around 72 degrees. I mentioned earlier that it's July 23rd, so late July, really middle summer patterns. I've had great success all through the summer on shallow crappies. I'm actually a firm believer that there's crappie shallow all year round, and so far, like, this is kind of, you know, affirming my experiences. That doesn't mean that they're deep too, you know. There's pods of crappies that just do different things, and I believe that there's some crappies that stay shallow and crappies that go deep, and some crappies go back and forth and do their patterns, right? Early morning they're shallow, then they're back out deep during the day, and back come in shallow at night. But you know, here in northern Minnesota, water temps rarely hit 80 degrees. And 70-degree water is a lot of panfish's happy temperatures. So it's not like they're really encountering really extreme warm water in the shallow. So at least in northern Minnesota, you can get on a lot of shallow panfish patterns all summer long. All right, let's take a minute and we'll talk tactics and tackle. So I've been touting this plastic that I've been using. I'll show it here. I've got a couple of different colors here that I like to use, although you've probably noticed I have a hankering for pink. But I've actually caught plenty of panfish on these colors, and I have two main jigs that I like to use. This one is a 16th ounce, just regular jig. And this one is, I've been calling it 16th ounce, but it's actually an 1/8 ounce with a willow blade attached to it. Now, the slider company actually has these handy dandy willow blades that you can put on just like so, and then you put your plastic on the hook and it holds it on there. And what's cool about that is you can just be adjustable. Sometimes the blade works a little better, sometimes it doesn't. Today, this blade happened to work. Now, I happen to find jigs that had the willow blade attached to it. I honestly don't even remember the name of that company that I got them from. I hope I can find them again because I only have so many left. And what I'm doing is I'm just casting out around these weeds and submerged weeds. And when I see the submerged weeds, I'm just kind of staying right on top of them, kind of skipping over the top of them. And those crappies seem to be down in them, and they're just coming up and attacking that lure as it comes by. Now, I haven't really highlighted my rod and reel combo much because I use the same thing all the time. I got two of these exact same Shakespeare rods as part of their micro series. They were just really affordable, that's why I got them. They're 7-foot rods, they're the ultralights, and I like fast action. Now on the bobber rig, fast action isn't the most ideal because you might lose some hook sets. That faster action rod tends to be really stiff, and so when you set the hook for the bobber, that can tend to pull the lure right out of the fish's mouth. That's where a slow action, a softer rod, would do a little better because that slow action would have some give in the rod when you set the hook. But I like how they fight on the rod. That's why I have the fast action, because I like to really feel that thump. And if you have a slow action, then you don't really feel it as much. So with that said, this rod is very, very good for this type of fishing with the jig and the slider. And the reason for that is 7-foot rod, I can get lures out a little bit farther, and you tend to want to have a fast action for this type of application because then you can feel all the ticks and bites. You can feel whether it's the weeds or whether it's a fish. And of course, when the fight happens, you get to feel that thump on the line. That's a lot of fun. So I use 6-pound mono because it's cheap. P-line would be my go-to if I was going to use like a fluorocarbon type. That's like a hybrid of sorts, but it's cheaper. It's about half the price. In fact, it's about the same price as monofilament. So that's what I tend to use when I want to use a fluorocarbon. But this one is a monofilament on here. Just a versatile line. That 6-pound test can help me pull my lures out if I get stuck in the weeds. And it's abrasive resistant, a lot better than fluorocarbon, at least in my opinion it is, and so it doesn't break as much. And that stretch, you know, adds a little bit of give if you have a bigger fish. I tend to do really well with big fish on monofilament. So, you know, as far as reels go, the only thing I really look for is a bigger spindle, and the reason is it doesn't twist my line as much. And I do a lot of casting with my open face reels, so my line can tend to last a year without really getting twisted up in these open face reels because I use a bigger spindle. This happens to be an Abu Garcia Black Max 20, if you want to know what reel that is. And it was just a reel that I found on sale. If I remember right, I think I got it just around $30. And this rod I got for $25. So, you know, in what you're seeing out there nowadays, you know, $50 for a combo is pretty darn good. So I'm really happy with this for pan fishing. I've been using this rod now for 4 years, I think, and I bought the second one a couple years ago, and they've been great rods for me to use for the panfish application. Oh, it's so fishy. It's like a wall. That's what I like to see, is reeds so thick and they stop at right 4 or 5 feet or so of water. And panfish can tend to just hang out in the edges there. And, you know, they feel safer in the reeds, and so they just meander around and they kind of skirt these edges too. I've caught a lot of bluegills and crappies on the edge of reeds like this. Okay. I made a subtle switch, well, maybe not so subtle, to a jig that has a blade on it. And my very first cast, I got me one of these 9-inch crappies. Maybe they want this jig with the blade and the plastic on it. Let's find out. I'm kind of on a deeper weed edge. It's 10 feet under me, and it comes right up to a submerged weed edge, and that's where I caught it on, was on the edge of that. We'll see if there's more there. Nice little fighter. Working on my limit. Nice. I'm not sure if I've mentioned yet that this is the first time that I've fished on this lake this year. What's beautiful about this lake isn't just that it has a lot of panfish in it. It's that it's close to my house, and it's like a carbon copy to a lot of lakes in northern Minnesota. And what I find in our state, at least in the pockets of the lakes in our state, is a lot of lakes tend to be similar in the areas that you fish. So if you want to fish Bemidji area or the Brainerd Lakes area or the Grand Rapids Lakes area, those lakes can tend to be similar within a 30-mile radius, say. Northern Minnesota, north of Duluth, is really no different. We do have some variety. We do have lakes that can vary, but when you get to these puddle jumpers, these little 100 to 300 acre lakes, they tend to be very similar. So when I scout out a new lake, I can take the experience of all the other lakes I've fished up here and be able to apply it to that new lake and generally do pretty good. And on this lake, that's actually what happened, because this lake I only fished for the first time maybe 4 years ago, and I've been fishing northern Minnesota for almost 20 years now, very heavily. And so I had a lot of panfish experience in my head that I was able to apply to this lake, and it's really panned out very well. So coming in cold today, right, the very first time that I've been here in the summertime, I gauged the surroundings of the conditions, you know, air temperature, water temperature, time of year, and try to piece together what I know of these lakes as far as weeds and things that I see, and zero in on areas and make a game plan. This lake is your classic bowl. I believe this lake is about 250 acres. It's got a 10 to 15 foot spot somewhere in the middle, and it's just kind of a big round bowl. And so you have all the weeds around the edges. And in northern Minnesota, these lakes tend to be panfish making machines. So when I narrowed in on this lake a handful of years ago to finally try it, I already knew from my experience and what I was looking at that it probably was going to be a good panfish lake. Now, I do cheat a little bit. Minnesota has great resources to look up lakes. The Minnesota DNR has a website that you can go to and use their Lake Finder tool. If your state has a tool like that, absolutely use it, because it's going to be so helpful for you to narrow in on a good lake. So I hope this segment that I put together to sandwich in between some fishing was really helpful to help you understand how I approach a lake, how I approach this outing in particular. So far we're having a great day. Let's get back to it and see if we can't catch a limit of those crappies. one of them fine crappies. This lake has a great crop of 9-inch crappies in it. Great crop. Let's see what we got. Let's see where we're at. We're getting close. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 away. 2 away from the limit. 2 away from the limit. Definitely figured out where they are. They're not here in huge numbers in these spots, but they're definitely around. There's a weed. It's kind of like a cabbage, but it's not the true cabbage weed. That they definitely are around, and that's where I've caught most of them. I've caught a handful in these reeds, but most of them have been in this cabbage weeds. Oh, there we go. Nice strike too, kind of put my heart in my throat. This one might very well be, close to the bigger one of the day. One down, one left. One to go, one to go. Crappies with the old Charlie Brewer sliders. I love this thing. I love this paddle lure. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh! We got ourselves a limit. With the biggest one of the day. All right. All right. So I'll show this lure again. That baby right there, 16th ounce jig with a willow blade and a plastic from the Charlie Brewer Slider Company. Today was a day where I took what I was given. It's a Saturday and I haven't been able to fish since my trip to Lake Vermilion, which is a couple weeks ago already. And the weather wasn't looking too great, but it's decided to hold off for us so that we can get into some good crappies. Super fun way to fish. I mean, like, just very active, casting into pockets, looking for places for fish to bite. They're really aggressive today. You know, again, crappies can be shallow all year round. And we're almost at noon right now, and I'm still finding crappies shallow in this 73-degree water. I know it's not down south. Down south this time of year, you guys probably are pushing 85 to 90. But up here in northern Minnesota, we're lucky to see 80-degree water. And that gives us some great shallow panfish opportunities all year round. Don't be afraid to take something like this and start casting around weeds and submerged weeds in 4 to 8 feet of water and see what you can find. You know, you live and learn. Some days you hammer them, some days you don't. And you accumulate that knowledge, and then when you come out on a day like today where I have literally not fished this lake for a year, it's been since last summer, I can kind of piece things together and start finding fish and catch them and have fun. I hope this video is helpful. I don't do too many videos where we actually go through tactics and how to and what I do, but decided today would be a really good day for it because that's literally what I was doing, was figuring things out as I go. Season 3 is plugging away. I'm not getting as many episodes as I'd hoped to get out, but that's just because life is really busy. You know, ordinary folks like us who've got to work and make a living, and kids are busy doing their sports and their activities. It's hard to keep up with the hobbies like fishing. But you do what you can to get out and enjoy it when you are, and make the most of it, and hopefully bring home some nice slabs for a good fish fry. Hey, I'm Nathaniel, just your ordinary fisherman. God bless everybody. Tight lines. Ooh, these horse boys, tell you what. They are something else. And how these little bluegill are getting this bigger hook in their mouth, I have no idea. But they like them sliders too. Charlie Brewer sliders. Ooh, these horse flies, I'll tell you what.